Managers and valets. I mean, they've been around for the longest time. It feels like in the 80s and 90s, they were a little more prominent. They were more um, important. And I felt like early 2000s, they had a bit of a renaissance because I could name a whole bunch of them that were super popular. But they were very important to characters to either assist them in their matches to win the matches. If the wrestler wasn't that great at speaking, they were great at being a mouthpiece. They were also sometimes even dating the wrestlers, so that kind of added that dynamic to make the story more interesting or make that match more unpredictable because you had that thumb on the scale of those specific matches. And these people have ranged from amazing to terrible, very influential to iconic. So I want to go around the room, kind of how we did with the wrestling Mount Rushmore um, of people. Say your pick and say why you like them, why who they managed, who you think like or supported, and we'll go around the room and kind of go down those kinds of things. I had that document with like things that you if you want to touch on in terms of like their relevance or their fan perception or even like behind the scenes, like not off screen, but people who are influential within the industry. If you want to use that as a reason why their promo skills, their historical significance, that kind of stuff. So if you want to use those as like reasons, but I'm sure you all have your reasons why. So I'm going to start off with like the obvious one because I feel like everyone might have on this list, and you guys can, if you pick this person, also provide like your reasons why. But I'm just going to go off the bat and say Paul Heyman. I feel like that's a super obvious choice. Um, but Paul Heyman, why? Because like who else is that good? I mean, like he's had he's obviously managed Brock Lesnar, and Roman Reigns is the most recent and obvious one, but he's also been a manager of CM Punk. If you've seen like that era of CM Punk right before he left WWE, like he was a Paul Heyman guy, and that was really good with them and their um, entanglements with each other. He's had some so-so things, like they tried to put him with Cesaro, and that didn't work that great, and he was with Ryback. That didn't work that great either.
Big
Or
Show.
Big Show. Rob Van Dam. I mean, like they were together. They were partners, and it wasn't Michael McGillicuddy, but Kurt Hennig's son. I forgot his actual name,
Oh yeah,
but he was.
Curtis Axel.
Thank
Curtis
you.
Axel. Yeah, yeah.
Still hasn't lost in the Rumble.
Yeah, exactly. So he also like was managing him, and I feel like they all had varying degrees of success with those three. But
Yeah.
the Paul Heyman, the Roman Reigns, the CM Punk, the Brock Lesnar. I mean, being a manager. I mean, and I want to just like as a person because I feel like his influence as a SmackDown writer, a commentator. He owned ECW. Like
He could
as a
do it all.
man, yeah, he could do it all. And as a manager, like he really like just takes that wrestler over the top. He's like that ingredient that just really excels that person, whatever that is. And it's got to be his mic work and charisma because yeah, that guy can speak, and it comes from the heart. I mean, it sounds like it comes from the heart. If he's reading off a script, he should be an actor. But but yeah, Paul Heyman is my first guy, and I think the reasons are obvious.
Yeah.
Bloodline, um, the CM Punk feud, and the Brock Lesnar feud, and I think he had the one with Tooth in 2002, like the next big thing, but I think it really kicked into overdrive when Brock Lesnar came back in 20, I think it was 2012, and then Paul Heyman came back. And that I think that put Brock Lesnar and that like duo over the top as like an amazing pairing because that series of things with them, like that was what carried that show for a long time. But yeah, that's my pick. Chris, who do you got and why?
Gonna have to give it to Stephanie McMahon. I mean,
Damn.
it's the obvious with Triple H, but she was like with Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, Hulk Hogan. Apparently, I don't remember that one.
I don't
Zach
remember either
Gowen,
one.
Ric Flair, Edge, and Christian. But
I don't
like
remember.
when she was with Triple H, I think she was a big part of that equation to elevate the importance of Triple H's heel work. I think because being Boss's daughter and him dating the Boss's daughter or whatever, like that just kind of elevated him to this kind of like elite level kind of character. So I don't think I honestly believe I don't think Triple H would be at that same level without Stephanie McMahon or the McMahons to be frank.
Mhm.
McMahon Helmsley era.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And that was just I mean the back and forth, the resting bitch face shit, the slapping, like ringside, all that stuff. I mean, she definitely ammed it up for him. So I'd have to
Mhm.
say Stephanie McMahon.
Absolutely.
That's a good one.
No.
What about you, David? First pick.
I've had the two that you guys have said, and then I also had Paul Bear.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, Paul Bear. Yeah, he was on my list, but tell us why Paul Bear.
Uh, just the Lord with Taker and Kane. The importance of him even bringing in Kane, and then
Yeah,
also he brought it or helped bring in Mick Foley as Mankind,
was it?
as his
Was it?
uncle. Yeah,
Oh shit.
when Mankind was still wearing the brown gear.
Oh yeah, that's how he started, right?
Yeah, when he was still like super weird.
And he had like that ankh, like that Egyptian symbol on his thing. Yeah, I mean that's a good one. He was on my list, but I like expanded it in case like we touched other ones. um, Paul Bearer, yeah, I mean like that. Like if you think of like managers, like that's like one of the first. Like it's like an obvious manager. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
that was his specific role, like he was a supporting character to Undertaker, and like it burned in everyone's brain because like the makeup, like he was short and big, and he had the high-pitched voice. I think his real name is Percy Pringles. That makes it even funnier. um and like all the iconic things, like you said, like he was introducing Kane. He got buried under cement. I mean, and just holding the urn, the iconic thing of like holding the urn, and you have the Undertaker there. I mean, all of it just very iconic. Um, and a very important character, like throughout the. I mean, it was basically since Undertaker started all the way through the Attitude Era. There's a bit of a break, and then they had some reunions with the Undertaker, but. Yeah, that's a really good one. And it was like one of my picks. Like somewhere I'm like, oh, if I should I pick them, should I not? So that's really good. Andres, what about you?
I'll get to my pick in a second, but I was going to mention Paul Heyman really quick because I actually absolutely hated him as a kid. Like, I really hated him. I didn't like when he talked. I hated him as a manager. I didn't mind Brock Lesnar, but for some reason, I hated Paul Heyman when he came from the whole invasion angle was going through.
Hmm.
But when I learned as I got older, like his like resume and what he's done for wrestling, it made me like respect him so much. And I was like, damn, wait a minute, like. But as a kid, like no, I hated his guts. I did not like him at all. Like I was just annoyed by his voice and all that stuff. Who knows this fat guy? Like, like
This skullet wearing motherfucker.
yeah, seriously, I was like, what the fuck? But actually, too, I was actually a Curtis Axel fan for a while, and I don't remember if it was here in Chicago or we like traveled out because we did go out to like Survivor Series in Indiana and stuff like that. But like, there was a match I forgot. He won the title, and I don't remember who he beat it for, but like, it was during that Paul Heyman management time, and I remember the crowd was
He
like
won the
really behind him.
Intercontinental
Yeah,
title.
I remember him, and the crowd was behind him big time for that match, and I was really thinking he was going to go pretty far after that, but just it
And
didn't
then it
really.
didn't.
It didn't. I don't know what happened, but yeah, it just didn't. My pick. to kind of Chris's point too, like Triple H would not be pretty much where he had gone in his character if it wasn't for them, which is the Ninth Wonder of the World, China.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much is one of his, like, honestly, you can't really think him without her, you know, originator of
Yeah.
DX, but like also like setting like the bar for like the women's division and being so like different.
Mm-hmm.
I loved her backstory too of how she got into the business. That was cool. Like Triple H pretty much is what met her like at the mall or something like that.
At a
And
gym.
it's like, hey, at a gym, was it? Okay.
I
And he
think
met
a
her where she
gym
was
in a
working.
mall.
Yeah. And then he brought her in, and like Vince wasn't really for it, but Shane was, and he basically had to like tell his dad, like, let's just give it a try and see. And they took a chance, and you know, it was a big payoff. But like, you know, she had such an impact on wrestling alone too. You know, just not just as a woman wrestler, but just as a wrestler. You know, like setting the standard for what the women's division became. And I mean, still to this day, like you have Rhea Ripley, who's like took a lot of inspiration from her, you know, in her outfits too, especially too. She
Mm-hmm.
keeps her hair going and stuff. But that's my pick. Like someone, you know, impactful to wrestling as a valet at first, but developed into being one of the pinnacle wrestlers in female wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go this will be mine too, and I'll also say China because she was also on my list, and I echo everything that you said, and again, like it's just like I feel like her character and her as a person, it just feels like she was reaching the pinnacle, and then like all those things that happened near the end in like 2001, it's just a series of like unfortunate events, you know, like the
Mhm.
interpersonal relationships, like the Stephanie Triple H thing. And then she had her own issues with Sean Waltman, X
Mhm.
Pac. And I just wish like it went somewhere else because I feel like she could have still been with us
Yeah.
wrestling or doing something, you know, like that's one of those people that I'm like, damn, like they left wrestling too soon, and I mean they left this earth too soon, you know. And China, you mentioned Triple H, and you also have to like bring up like the Eddie Guerrero thing. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't that super long of a pairing, but the Eddie Guerrero China thing was like
It
super
was
super
pretty big for what it
iconic.
was. Yeah. It
Yeah,
was.
and she kind of went like she was manager valet ish. She was like still wrestling, but it was a pairing, and she was like with him, and yeah, that was a very iconic pairing on SmackDown. Um, and yeah, like China's super influential. I mean, for women, like you said, Rhea Ripley. I mean, in general, big super powerful women who also were wrestling guys. Won the
Mhm.
Intercontinental title, wrestled against Chris Jericho, was in the Royal Rumble. You know, like not many people or women specifically can say that, you know, they showed up and did all
Yeah.
that, and she could.
Fun
And
fact about China
yeah.
is, I'm sorry, I had a friend who actually met her at a convention here, like probably like 2 years before she passed, and he was actually locked in the elevator with her for like 2 hours.
What? And
Yeah,
what you got to be talking to her for 2 hours. You
yeah,
can't be
it was.
quiet, right?
He
Like,
said
what
she
do
was
you know
so
what?
nice. No, he said she was so cool. She was really cool. She talked to him the whole time. Like there was no awkwardness or anything. He said she didn't really talk too much about wrestling, but like he just and this guy that I know that he was locked in the elevator, he can talk a lot too. He can talk your ear off. But like from what I heard though, like no, she was really cool. Like she was really nice and very pleasant and like wasn't like freaking out or like, oh, don't talk to me or anything. Like no, she was very like very talkative back with him. So real friendly.
Do you know how they got out of the elevator? Like, how were they stuck for
I
almost two
I
hours?
think eventually that I don't remember what happened, like how, but I just remembered like he said they were stuck and then eventually the elevator like maintenance came and I think the police came and then eventually it came up. Like it didn't like open to a point where they like climb out. It actually like centered itself to like the floor it was going to eventually. And they were able to get
Were,
out properly. But like yeah, they were in there for like a while, he said. But the whole time she was really cool, he said.
were there other people in there? Or was it just them
Yeah.
two?
It was him and like his friend and then like her and her manager, whoever was
Was it
helping her with the con.
Steve-O by any chance?
Viva? No.
Yeah. Oh.
No, no. It was just like the handler. Because I guess when you like work a table and you're like a guest, they'll give you somebody that helps you with like the people and like in line and stuff like that. Like, oh, like here, I'll take the picture for you, or you know, they'll talk to the person who's like next in line to get their thing signed or whatever,
Mhm. That's
like a
awesome.
handler. Yeah, yeah,
I
that's
can't
cool.
imagine. That's
Call
amazing.
people, yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that was my second one. Chris, who's your second one?
This is an oddball one, but it's kind of just a testament to this style of manager. I'm gonna say Armando Estrada because
Oh,
like
okay. See, I was kind of thinking about putting him on here just because I experienced it. I'm like, no.
Umaga. I mean, like it just all these characters that are not really mic talkers, right? Or they need like English translation, like that
Yeah, because
is
Umaga didn't speak. He just went blah blah blah
right,
blah.
The
right,
wild cornberry.
right. But like like other wrestlers who perhaps don't speak English, like using a manager that was kind of their mouthpiece or whatever to help them create their character was very big. So they were more of an imposing kind of a presence for like I just does stuff and talk. So and it's just the way he would say stuff and how he would announce his name or all that shit. So yeah, I had to throw him. And because like as far as like managers that we've experienced, he's one of those that really pops out in that like 2000s era, 2010 era.
Yeah, I mean, and he was like a very prominent manager. Like there weren't that many people who had managers at that time, but he's
And
one like that was specifically in that role.
it like the Cuban look. He had a freaking hat on and shit.
Ray-Bans,
Yeah.
white hat, gold chain,
Right.
occasionally a cigar.
And he was like specifically a manager, whereas like, Stephanie McMahon and a lot of these other people had different roles before, but he was really more unless I'm wrong, I don't think he's actually right.
Did he manage anybody else besides Umaga? I'm not sure.
Did like I was looking at it earlier.
I forgot about him.
I
Not
don't
gonna lie.
know.
Armando. And he's Palestinian. He's not even
Palestine.
Hispanic. And he was born in Chicago, actually.
No shit. Huh.
Billed from Cuba.
Tyson Kidd and Umaga. That's it.
Oh, he was the general manager of ECW in '07.
Ah.
But we didn't really watch WWE ECW. Like it was obviously there. CM Punk was there and all that kind of stuff. And I think our friend Michael may have had that terrible ECW pay-per-view December to Dismember. I think it was like the second one. Was it the one where Big Show won the title? Well, either way, it wasn't great. But
Who's that vampire wrestler on that show? I forgot his name. Like some vampire dude. Or am I tweaking?
No, there was a vampire guy with the girl.
I don't remember that shit.
Not
Just-
Gangrel.
No, no.
Not Green Girl. Yeah.
I'm gonna type
Gangrel,
vampire
that one.
ECW. Kevin Thorne.
I thought that was his name in TNA.
Mordecai and Kevin Thorne. He was in WWE as Kevin Thorne and Mordecai.
That was Mordecai?
Yeah, apparently. He came back in ECW in 06, 07 on Sci-Fi. Kevin Thorne, yeah, he was just Kevin Thorne and his vampire chick Ariel. So Armando Alejandro Estrada was the general manager for that year-ish. When did WWE ECW die? Was it like 09, 2010, something like that, right? Like it was only like 4
Too
years.
soon.
Too soon. Like I feel like it could have been something interesting, but they just would never be able to do what the Paul Heyman ECW did. But that's fine. David, what about you? What's your next pick?
Sensational Sherry.
Ooh, yes. Why?
I feel like, I mean, I could be wrong, but we also don't have much history to like go back on before her. But just being like a big pinnacle of like a WrestleMania story, being with Macho Man, being with DiBiase later on,
Mhm.
helping cement like Shawn Michaels as a fucking heel
Yep.
early on, and then good old Harlem Heat.
Hmm.
she was there.
Yeah.
And the iconic Kurt Angle cameo. I think that was the same year she was getting
Oh, yeah.
inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It's like Kurt.
Yeah, in
Make your ankle hurt.
2005.
It's super.
Yeah.
And she's like, she looked very masculine. Ankle hurt. I was like, damn, dude.
That's how she always was. Especially Sensational Sherry when she was like in she was Macho Man's counterpart basically. Like you had like you had Macho Man with his wife, like nice petites, nice counterbalance to his crazy energy, and then basically when Sherry showed up, it was crazy energy with crazy ass energy. So when he was the Macho King, I think that's what they call. And yeah, like her, like I totally forgot. Like yeah, like she had like face paint and stuff. Like she had like it looked like a cat at one point. Like her makeup was bananas. But if you've never seen her, she's also really pretty too. If you've never seen her Dark Side of the Ring episode, that was actually really really good.
There was an episode about her on Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah, of Sherry Martel. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I gotta check that out.
Yeah, I mean, like she did, she was the whole, 9 issues with drugs and alcohol and that kind of stuff, like the kind of stuff you typically hear from those wrestlers in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, that era.
Yeah. So she was also definitely someone who I had on my side list in case someone named everybody else. But yeah, Sherry Martel is one of those people that I thought was just really good. I mean, she was a wrestler, but she was also very charismatic. She was really good as a valet and as a manager. She was actually inducted in 2006, so it was the same year as Bret Hart in Chicago when they did the Hall of Fame at Rosemont Theater.
Huh.
So, yeah, and she passed away a year later in 2007 because of a drug overdose, which freaking sucks. And I don't know. I'm not gonna look it up.
Jesus.
It was actually around the same time Chris Benoit passed away, which sucks. It was like a back-to-back kind of thing.
Jesus.
But yeah, Sherry Martel is one of those people that were really influential. I mean, like you said, they helped Harlem Heat. The one that I remember the most is with her and Shawn Michaels. She was a big part of that story.
Macho King was a big story.
Macho King was probably the biggest part for her as a manager. The most hilarious one was obviously Harlem Heat because she was in that video shot when that promo happened.
My man.
But yeah,
Oh,
Sensational Sherry was a really good one. Let's see. Wait, so is it Andres or you next?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my pick, kind of like the same as David's, like to his points. I picked Miss Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm. Iconic.
Yeah, iconic. Was with Macho Man throughout like the early years of WCW, part of the NWO, and then obviously when WWE beforehand was part of that storyline with the Mega Powers too when they split up.
Yep.
Was then I think originally was gonna retire with Macho Man at WrestleMania. Like he had a match with, and then that's when Sensational Sherry was his manager, and then like I think she betrays him, and then Miss Elizabeth was in the crowd. She came out and like basically like rescued him, and then I think I remember like hearing that they were supposed to retire at that point, but obviously it didn't happen. But like, yeah, no, she's another iconic name in wrestling. I would say like as a valet. Don't really know too much about her wrestling history if she really had one, but I just remember like growing up and just seeing her there, with all the big names in wrestling. Like I think she even managed like Lex Luger for a while. I think she was dating him actually at that point.
NWO, like everyone's an NWO member.
Mm-hmm.
But she's really tied to Macho Man Randy Savage.
Absolutely, yeah.
His kind of era in like the 80s, early 90s. So that's a really good one. What else do you like about her? Do you like what, anything else you want to say about
I mean, no, like I said, like I just remember just seeing that like whenever I would watch WCW or even watching the old school WWF days and stuff like that, she was just always with the top main eventers really. When she, with the time when you had Mega Powers, like that was where she was in the middle of that. I think she kind of like broke them up kind of in a way. Like that was kind of a thing. Like
Mhm.
Macho Man was getting like super jealous of Hogan or something like that, and thinking there was something between them. But like I said, I don't really know too much, but I do know that like as a valet, she was iconic for that,
Mhm.
you know, and never really other than that. But like no, that's pretty much all I had on her really.
Cool. Yeah, so for my next one, I was going to say Vicky Guerrero. Vicky Guerrero was one of those. I mean, it's honestly crazy. Like when you first see her with like Eddie Guerrero and how she is as a person to like what she evolved into, like the character development, like on-screen character evolution was crazy. But I mean, like just hearing the word "excuse me" during that era, she got like nuclear heat. It was like Dominic Mysterio heat. I remember vividly this one segment where John Cena was in the ring and so was Vicky Guerrero, and she was trying to say like she said excuse me, and then she started trying to talk, and it was like the similar kind of thing. And I don't know if it's just that family or what it is, like Dominic Mysterio, like that whole like thing. But when she started talking, like you could not hear anything she said because the booing was so loud, and John Cena like not it wasn't fake or anything, like he was just laughing his ass off because of how loud they were booing, and she tried not to laugh, but she was just getting like super angry, but you could see like she was trying to crack a smile because like the booing was so fucking loud. Like, and I think I'll send you guys a link. There's like an unedited, like unmuffled version of the booing, really good. But Vicky Guerrero as a manager, a number of ways, a general manager, a manager of La Familia with like that whole Edge story, like that was one of the things that carried SmackDown during that specific era with like Chavo and all those kinds of folks, helping Edge win his titles, basically being the general manager and just kind of like putting her thumb on the scale for like him and that specific era, like. And then yeah, her character, she just, the way that she developed it and the way that she just quickly adapted to like how WWE kind of like functions. She wasn't just like, oh, the wife of Eddie Guerrero, and she gets upset and just smacks somebody from like the side of the ring. Like she became a full-fledged character and she was super into it and was very just a big integral part in like 2007 through like 2011, 2012, something like that. Super iconic. That's my person. And yeah, I mean, like she also, I think they had a wrestler wrestle once too. It wasn't great. It wasn't a Dave Meltzer 5-star match, but
What
just
does
her
that even
ability.
mean?
A Dave Meltzer 5-star match. Which part?
It means that you're having SpaghettiOs for dinner.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great. But yeah, the match wasn't great, but like she put her body on the line. They made fun of her like she was up for anything that Vince McMahon threw her way. She got tossed around, thrown through tables. I mean, there were certain parts where I'm like now looking back, like back then you were just like, haha, that's funny. But like they would make fun of her, body image and all that kind of stuff, and she was just kind of up for anything, in the for the sake of the story. So I just gotta give my hats off to her because she also really just made Edge look really great. So yeah, Vicky Guerrero is mine. My next one, Chris. Who's your next one?
Don Callis.
The oddities, baby.
Yeah.
The guy from the oddities.
Yeah, the guy from
Wow.
the Oddities. No, the guy who managed the Acolytes, apparently.
Yep.
Farouk and Bradshaw.
What do you like about Don
Remember that.
Callis?
I honestly think he is definitely a personality. I think he's underrated as far as what his potential is, and I think his use in AEW is probably his best use throughout his entire career because I think Omega wanted him in AEW, if I'm correct. because he was also doing color commentary in New Japan, and he was calling a lot of on the English side a lot of the matches. So I think Omega wanted him in AEW, and then he became his manager during his essentially his heel run.
Hmm.
Which I think he was really an accent to Omega, because Omega can speak more or less, but he was the match guy, and Don Callis was kind of the negotiator, the mouthpiece, so to speak. But then the Don Callis family stuff attached to all these talents, Osprey, a lot of guys that he's surrounded by that are very talented that are outside of WWE. So, yeah, no, I'd say he's definitely an underrated manager that has not really seen a lot within the WWE frame.
Hmm. That's a really good one. Yeah. I mean, if I had to look at like AEW's roster and I had to pick a manager, I would definitely pick Don Callis from that group, and maybe Prince Nana.
Oh,
But
that's my other one, by the way.
no, I didn't pick him, so you can talk on the next round. What about you, David? Who's your next
Uh,
person?
I had Nancy Benoit, woman.
No dice.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
woman.
Did
yeah.
she? Yeah. Who did she manage?
So Kevin Sullivan, Doom, and then she had a run in ECW where she was with like Shane Douglas, Sandman. She I liked her in ECW because like ECW was kind of like the first to be on that wave of like badass women. Like they're just like the guys. They'll
Mhm.
turn just like the guys, and yeah, dude, made for some good TV at 11 p.m. and when you're 6 years old on a Saturday night, you know, like
True.
so yeah, and like I, she was a good like template for like all the other girls in ECW, like the Dawn Maries, Francines, and Beulah McGillicuddy's and all that.
Yep.
Kind of tied into that, kind of like what Chelsea Green was in her indie run.
Hmm. Wild.
Same vibes, yeah.
That's a good pick. I didn't even think about her. But yeah, really
And
good
then of
pick.
course she managed Benoit when he was with the Horsemen, but her career was cool before he got there.
Yeah.
He kind of could have done without him.
All right. Awesome.
And
Andres.
she
What do
gets no
we?
props
Yeah.
for that. Like, just want to add that she gets no props because of the Benoit shit. But it's like,
Yeah, that kind of gets overshadowed.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like 90, up until 97, it was fucking.
And she's not
Oh yeah,
inducted into the Hall of Fame or anything, right?
she might be as woman. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if she's not, I feel like she should, and it'd be unfortunate if she doesn't, just because her name is tied in with like Benoit, like and that whole thing. Um,
Unfortunately. Mhm.
yeah.
Actually, my pick. I don't even know if they're in the Hall of Fame either, but I would say they could go in there. I say is Deborah.
Oh yeah, that was on my side list too.
Oh, was it? Yeah. Yeah. A couple of mine got picked, so I was like, oh, who else could it be? I'm like, oh yeah, Deborah. Like, been a valet for like a while. I mean, she was a valet for the Four Horsemen, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, back in the WCW, and then like when she came to WWE, obviously who was she managing? Double J, and you get a partner as well, or was it just him? But I remember her mostly with him because she would always distract the opponents and stuff like that, and
Lap
he'll get the
nuts.
guitar. Yep, you get the guitar out and stuff like that. But then eventually, like she was with Stone Cold, and like that was a cool angle too, because like that's when like the invasion thing was going on, and he was rivaling with The Rock and stuff. And then Stone Cold was like a heel, but he was a face at the same time. So she was kind of in on the skits with him. She never like did like a lot at that point, but like she just was there for me. So I remember always seeing her on TV so much. And like I feel like that's somebody who, if it's not in the Hall of Fame, should be in there. But it's definitely a valet. Like I'd say that sticks out.
No, that's a good one. I definitely think that, yeah, that's why I thought of Deborah, because like I feel like she was just associated with a lot of like iconic wrestlers. I mean, her as a person during that specific era, like attitude and like early
Yeah.
Ruthless Aggression era, just a very iconic character.
Also a horseman manager.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
another Horseman manager.
And I checked,
Um,
woman is not in the Hall of Fame.
oh, there you go. And I don't know if she will.
Is Deborah in the Hall of Fame?
No.
No, I don't think so.
No, okay. I think she should be.
All right, let's see. Um, I did have Stephanie McMahon on my list, and I'm just going to use that as my pick because I think she is uh, that person. You already mentioned like the basically the Triple H Paul Levesque era, and I think she was that character that Triple H needed as a heel to just go all the way to the stratosphere as a wrestler, as an interesting character. I mean, he was already in DX, but I feel like Stephanie McMahon really put him over the top. I mean, and she also managed um, Chris Jericho to a lesser degree, and she technically managed Seth Rollins with Triple H with the whole authority regime era. So during that era, she's just really good at being that kind of like support character to Seth Rollins, Triple H, the Chris Jericho. She's just really good at what she does. Her feud with was it Nikki or is it Brie Bella? No, I think it's Brie Bella because
It
that was the
Brie
whole
Mode.
Daniel Bryan feud, Brie mode thing.
Ugh.
Slapped the shit out of her, but that was really good, and that happened in Chicago. Chris, if you remember, we were there
Yeah.
for that. But just as a manager, a valet, on-screen personality, really good. Elevated a number of super popular wrestlers. Obviously married to the man in WWE, but she is like an iconic character and person in wrestling. Like you can't think like Stephanie McMahon. You associate with wrestling, and she has been a part of so many iconic scenes and moments in wrestling. It's just like you'd be stupid not to put her in on one of these lists. General manager, she's SmackDown general manager. That was iconic. And she's not in the Hall of Fame. I feel like she's one person who would probably be in the Hall of Fame before Vince McMahon at this point. And I think that she would be well deserved. Obviously, she's not going to put herself in there, so Triple H is probably going to do it. but yeah, Stephanie McMahon is my next pick. So, Chris, who else do you have? What are we on right
Prince
now?
Nana. Well, like,
Are we
this
on
is my
4?
fifth one.
Okay.
I think maybe because I didn't mention Paul Heyman, because I've had Paul Heyman, but
Oh, well, if you got another one that comes to mind, feel free to mention that person next. But go ahead.
Arn Anderson. No, but yeah, Prince Nana, Glock Anderson.
Prince Nana.
Because like sometimes you just need the guy that just does the thing that just goes over like a dance. Like and he's a good talker too. He's that good like mediator between he was the Mogul Embassy, right?
Yeah.
He was the manager, mouthpiece. Just overall very good, eccentric kind of character. But it's definitely that dance that just puts him over, man. Like that shit's hype. Swerve is talented, but he's just that little cherry on top. You know what I mean? Like it's the song, the dance, the whole presentation, and then Swerve takes care of the rest in the ring, and then with all the promo stuff. So he's definitely that missing puzzle piece for Swerve, I would say.
Nice. I mean, I feel like, yeah. I mean, like with Nana, I feel like I if I had to pick someone, I'd probably say Stokely Hathaway as a more effective manager person. Prince Nana is just more of for me, more of just like the catchphrase thing. But it is very effective because I feel like he does elevate Swerve Strickland's character in a very important way. And he also, I mean, does he interfere in matches ever?
Yeah, he's done stuff. He's definitely at the
So,
side, at least, like trying to hype the crowd up. Like, I mean, that's also an important role.
Has he ever like just thrown his body to somebody, like protect Swerve, or like because
Pretty sure he's taking a bump or two.
Yeah. Because like I feel like that's also important like when it comes to these like managers and things like affecting the matches based on what they do. So yeah, that's a good pick. David, who else do you have?
I had Sherry, Woman, Bear, and Heyman. Let's see.
Oh, I did say 4 to 5, so if you don't have a fifth one, that's cool.
Number 5. I didn't, but I'll think of one. Bobby Heenan.
All
Yeah.
right, there you
Everybody
go.
knows
Yeah,
what
a
I
lot of
love.
people's number one.
I also like him as a heel commentator. I
Yeah,
might
he was
like him
very
more.
good.
I might like him more as a heel commentator.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I've heard more of his commentating than I've seen his. I mean, I've seen his managing like stuff in iconic clips and things, but I feel like I've heard more of his commentating when I was like watching classic matches. Um, but yeah, that's a really good one, and I feel like again a lot of people's number one probably. And based on what I've seen, and I think there's a documentary about him that I haven't watched, but I feel like I should probably do that to do him justice. But yeah, that's a really good one.
I knew the Heenan family was long. And I was gonna mention just because of the whole Heenan family, but here we
Oh yeah.
go. Buddy
Yeah.
Rose, Paul Orndorff, King Kong Bundy, Andre the Giant, Brainbusters, which is Anderson and Blanchard, Rick Rude, Harley Race, Haku and Tama, Hercules the Barbarian,
Yeah.
Mr. Perfect, Red Rooster, and the Brooklyn Brawler.
Yeah, I got a whole fucking lit. He had a whole
Yeah.
team.
Heenan family, bro.
Yeah.
Don Callis family. Do you think that's where he got it from? I mean,
Probably 40 years later.
yeah, that's a like just the sheer amount of people that he's managed, and also just being a
Yeah.
super entertaining commentator. Like that guy is
I think
definitely second to
I think
none.
he was
He's
used
bump
as a
still.
tool to turn Andre heel for the Hogan thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true. Very, very good. Andres, did you have anybody left?
Yes. Jimmy Hart.
Oh yeah, Mouth of the South. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Like I remember pretty much in the like late '80s, early '90s, and into the 2000s, like watching wrestling. I remember. I mean, I didn't watch wrestling in the late '80s, but I knew like of him because he always had a certain look to him. Like his whole outfit would like match. Even the microphone would probably have like some aesthetic to it that would go with his blazer. But yeah, he was always around Hulk Hogan. Like that's always how I remembered him. Yeah, the Mouth of the South. And funny about him, I remember this is kind of one of those things. It's kind of like I used to like listen to the radio on the way to with my mom to work, and like she put whatever on. But I remember we caught Man Cow once, and it was when they were coming. WCW was coming to Chicago, and Jimmy Hart like got into a fight with Man Cow in the studio because he was like, "Oh, you think you're Howard Stern, whatever," and just like there's a whole Russell tussle going over on the radio, and then all of a sudden it turned into Man Cow's fighting in WCW at the pay per view, and I don't know. Jimmy Hart was like managing some guy named Rain. And I don't know who the fuck that was. I think that was like the only time I ever seen him. He was like a big dude, but it was just like the dying like pinnacle part of when WCW was already kind of just like they were doing okay, but like it was just like why are they doing this, kind of thing. But like it's something that stuck out with me with him. But like yeah, no, he's an iconic like mouthpiece, and look to himself too as a valet manager. Took bumps too. But he's
He
someone I
also
always
did
like.
manage the Hart Foundation. He did
Yeah,
manage the Hart Foundation.
it's another one. Another big name.
Yeah, I mean, he also like there were a shit ton of people that this guy managed. I mean, yeah, you mentioned Hulk Hogan, Hart Foundation, um, Jim the Animal Neidhart in his singles run. I think he managed Greg the Hammer Valentine. Yeah, I mean, like a lot of like the top '80s, early '90s stars. I feel like Jimmy Hart was associated with them in some form or fashion. Also, his hairstyle hasn't changed in 40 years, and he basically looks the same since like
He does.
1980.
Yeah.
Even though he's like 80 years old, he's turning. I think he just turned 80.
I
Pretty
think he made a
impressive.
lot of themes too. I think he's like the Jim Johnston of WCW.
Yeah. He did a lot of he turned he actually was born on January 1st, so he turned 80 this past year.
Oh damn. Yeah, my
Yeah.
honorable mentions were Rick Rude, Jim Cornette, and for some reason I don't know.
No one mentioned Jim Cornette.
No one mentioned him. Yeah,
I think that was
And then,
purposeful.
Fuck that idiot.
yeah. You know,
He's a really good manager.
Tennis racket
His-
swinging motherfucker.
Thing
his
is,
channel
on top of your
interesting
head.
too. I kind of like hearing him go off the cuff. Not gonna lie, it's pretty funny. He's and also I just threw Terry Reynolds in it. I don't know why. I'm trying to like think off the top of my head. I
She's
threw her in
iconic
there.
too. She had the whole. She was basically like toned down Goldust thing because they thought he was too gay
Yeah.
and weird.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then,
she's part of
I
that.
guess They attached Terry Reynolds to his character.
The
I
body.
Yeah,
had
Terry
Bischoff
Reynolds.
as my honorable mention.
Who?
Eric Bischoff.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Holy fuck.
I mean, it was basically like a Hulk Hogan manager, and then NW basically managed the NWO.
Yeah, whoever's wrestling the main event. They
Yeah,
got Easy with him.
Glock Anderson, motherfucker. Yeah,
that was a really good one.
he was kind of
Was
the.
Vince Russo a manager too, or was he just the writer? I know he was on screen too, though. But like Vince Russo,
Vince Russo.
or was he
Sure,
just like a
managed
writer
somebody.
predominantly?
I mean, he was an on-screen character too.
Yeah.
Did he manage somebody? I don't know.
The New
Okay,
Blood.
fine.
The New Blood.
Yeah.
All right. I did have one more. Did you have any more?
Just Arn Anderson. He was kind of the Polly to Cody Rhodes' Rocky in a way. You're gonna eat lightning crap thunder, but in his case, a Glock. You're gonna spit bullets.
So where did that come from first? Like, was that a specific segment?
Yeah,
Like,
he was.
why did they call him?
yeah.
Glock
He was like
Anderson?
talking about just being like a tough guy or whatever. He was saying something
Yeah.
about being robbed or something in his car, and he got the Glock on him or some shit.
Yeah, he was calling Cody soft. He was telling him that when Cody gets robbed, he goes, "Oh no, take what you want." And he was like, "No, not me. I'm the enforcer. I reach down by my seatbelt, pull out the Glock."
Was this like an AEW promo when Cody was
Yeah.
in AEW?
Yeah. You gotta
It was,
watch it.
it was to help him find his edge against Malachi Black.
Oh man, yeah, I gotta watch that now. I thought it was like some kind of like more historical thing, like a Tommy Dreamer with like the gun to Paul Heyman. or
No.
something. I guess it's more recent. Yeah, I'll look it up. I did
then
have
After that, he would pull it out the holster. Like if they're fucking with him at ringside, he'd be like,
Did he really?
Yeah. Just a finger gun, of course, not a real Glock.
Now I gotta see
Can't film in that shit.
Yeah, that like they had the pizza cutters and stuff. They just wait until he pulls out a real looking gun on TV.
It's like that. I don't know if it was New Japan or some Japanese promotion, but the dude that was just like on the top rope, he just pulls a fucking gun out for real. he was looked like he was about to do
Wild West.
like a
I
body
haven't
slam.
seen
He's like, motherfucker, looking unhinged as fuck.
You gotta send me.
Like
a
pulled
clip
out
of
of his
that
trunks, right? I think I've seen
if
that.
you can find it.
Yeah, I'm gonna find that shit.
All right, yeah. I guess I'll have the last one, and then we could close this out. I picked Lita. No one mentioned Lita, but I picked Lita because I mean, not only is she an amazing wrestler, and she's still been wrestling up until like what, a year ago. She got the fucking tag titles. Like people forgot that she won the tag titles recently. She was like a valet manager to the Hardys. And
S.A. Rios.
S.A. Rios, that was her first thing, and she was like assisting, going in the freaking ring in her like flaming red pants and bra,
Also
and
an ECW girl.
doing a Hurricane Rana. And yeah, the Hardy. I mean, was she a wrestler when she started with the Hardys? Like, was she a singles wrestler yet, or was she only
She wrestled in Mexico before.
Yeah, she was wrestling before she got to WWE.
Oh yeah, I knew that, but I meant like when she's in WWF, like when she was with the Hardys, were they letting her wrestle, or was she just like she was just ringside with the Hardy boys?
She was assisting. I remember she would do like some moonsaults and stuff with
She'd have
back in the day.
spots
With
where
that
she
reels
wouldn't
and stuff.
wrestle.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah, feeling like she would wrestle, but she would just interfere.
yeah, I saw. Yeah, so I mean, like, it kind of starts kind of there with like S.A. Rios, and then they put her on in the Hardy Boys, and yeah, like what manager at that time, like a Terry Runnels or Deborah or whoever you want to mention at that time. I mean, Stephanie McMahon, she won the women's championship. I was gonna actually mention Tori, like who was there for like a very brief moment in WWF where she was like in a relationship with Kane for whatever reason, and then started dating X-Pac. And then she was part of that new DX, and she helped Stephanie McMahon win her title belt. So like, I used her as like a super side manager if we ran out of things. But
she was a wrestler too, I believe, right? Wasn't she?
She was for a brief period. She also had like this like spray painted on like bodysuit kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with that, but yeah, I just remember Tori with like her neon green tank top, black pants or whatever. She was just part of like that McMahon Helmsley era DX faction for a bit. But yeah, Lita, like what other person during that time like was doing like Hurricane Ranas and moonsaults, to help their their wrestlers? There weren't that many in WWF anyway.
She took a gore, didn't she?
Oh, she took a bunch of shit.
Went through table.
Chairs.
Yeah, I mean, she went through tables, got hit by chairs.
Stacy Keibler's another one.
Oh yeah. Stacy Keibler.
She's a hero doing that. Not doing moonsaults, but taking bumps and distracting.
She was taking bumps. Didn't she take like an F5 from Brock Lesnar? I feel like she did. Or no, she took an RKO. I think she took an RKO from Randy Orton. But yeah, Lita, like she was the manager of the Hardy Boys, S.A. Rios. She did her singles run, and then she was still a singles wrestler, but then she got attached to Edge, and that's kind of what I associate her with as a manager the most. I mean, she had the Kane thing, the pregnancy with Kane, and that kind of a manager-ish.
Kane's been pulling chicks this whole time.
Yeah, that's crazy. Was it Chrissy Hemme?
Oh, I remember her.
Yeah. But yeah, Lita, like she was a singles wrestler. Then that whole thing with Matt Hardy and Edge, and a real life thing turned into an on-screen story, and she basically Edge had two really great managers, Vicky Guerrero and Lita. Like they really complemented his character perfectly. Say for what you want, but they had the live sex celebration. She was really good at like just interfering in matches, like just being WrestleMania 22 when he was wrestling Mick Foley, flaming table. She helped set that thing on fire. I mean, she was really good at her job in that, and she was like people really enjoyed booing her. I feel like it might have gotten to her a little bit, and maybe it was just because Trish was retiring, so maybe she felt like she should have as well. And I feel like there were also a bunch of injuries that she was just kind of like fighting through too. And that's why she kind of retired super early. Like same with Trish. They both retired pretty young, comparatively, speaking to like, how older wrestlers and female wrestlers go now. But I think both of them have also redeemed themselves. They've appeared in like a number of wrestlers and stuff. But yeah, Lita was my last manager, and I thought she definitely fits the past 20 years. She was one of the best managers and valets in the past 20 years. But yeah, did you guys have any other managers or people you wanted to throw out before we wrap this thing up?
Mr. Fuji?
Yeah.
No, yeah, Mr. Fuji.
Choppy, beep, beep.
That wasn't Mr. Fuji.
Fuji.
Damn.
Damn,
bro.
You edited that out.
That's the same guy. Shit, man.
Was that Kind Time?
Yeah,
that's Kind Time.
Oh, Mr. Freeze, Asian guy. Choppy, oh,
Mr.
baby.
Fuji was Yokozuna.
Yeah, that was well before that,
Yeah,
dude.
Mr.
Now we're
Fuji,
That
living
was
it
the
in.
first.
Bola
That
hat.
was the first time WWE got a presentation of a Japanese man right with the Samoan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I think it's a good place to wrap up. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of Chi-Town Shoot Podcast. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, rate us, and leave your feedback. Tune in next time for more wrestling madness. Until then, keep marking out.